The first thing he noticed wasn't the alarms, or the smoke, or the artificial gravity stuttering like it had a bad sense of humor. It was the smell, sharp, metallic, mixed with something sweet and unfamiliar, like burned sugar and ozone had a baby. He had exactly 3 minutes before the station's outer ring sheared off, and he was supposed to be evacuating, not standing in a collapsed maintenance corridor staring at a Fox alien who looked more confused than afraid. She was stuck halfway through a bent hatch, tail flicking, ears flattened, tools scattered around her like she tried to fight the station with a screwdriver and lost. Her fur was a deep amber, eyes bright and reflective under emergency lighting, and for half a second he forgot he was on duty. "Hey," he said, louder than necessary. "You alive?" She blinked. Then blinked again. Then stared at him like he just walked out of a dream. "You're very upright." "Yeah, I get that a lot." He grabbed the edge of the twisted hatch and pulled. Metal screamed. He screamed back, mostly out of habit. The hatch gave way enough for her to slide free, landing awkwardly against his chest. She froze. So did he. They stared at each other close enough that he could feel her breathing, quick and warm against his neck. Then she bit him. Not hard enough to break skin. Not soft enough to be cute. Just enough to make him yelp. "What the hell was that?" She let go immediately, eyes wide. "Oh stars, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean." "Wait, yes I did, no I mean. You just bit me." "Yes." "Why?" She hesitated. Her ears twitched. Her tail did a nervous little loop. "Because I thought you were hot." There were a lot of ways he'd imagined dying. Crushed by debris. Suffocated. Sucked into vacuum. But not this. Never this. "You bit me," he said slowly. "Because you were attracted to me." "Yes." "That's not a reason." "It is where I'm from." He stared at her. She stared back, completely sincere. "That's not how you thank someone," he said. "I didn't say thank you." "That makes it worse." Another tremor rippled through the station. The alarms shifted pitch. A robotic voice announced that structural collapse was imminent, like it was reminding people about a dinner reservation. "Okay," he said, shaking his arm. "Cultural exchange later. You're coming with me." She nodded, then paused. "I already did." "No, I mean. I know what you meant." They started running. She kept glancing at him like she expected him to suddenly change species mid-sprint. He kept checking his arm like it might fall off. "You're not angry?" she asked. "I don't know yet." "That's fair." They reached an escape lift just as the corridor behind them caved in. The doors slid shut, sealing them inside a flickering metal box with emergency lights and a very awkward silence. She kept sneaking looks at him. He caught her. "Stop that." "I can't." "Why not?" "Instinct." "Your instincts are going to get you arrested." "Worth it." The lift jolted. Gravity hiccuped. They both stumbled, bumping into each other again. She made a small noise that sounded suspiciously pleased. He stepped away. "You do not get to enjoy this." "I do." "Why is everything about you unsettling?" She tilted her head. "You pick me up like I weighed nothing. I'm a rescue unit. That's my job." "That's not why." "Then why?" "You were gentle." He opened his mouth, then closed it. That one caught him off guard. The lift doors opened into a crowded evacuation bay. Medics, security, different species yelling in different frequencies. Someone grabbed his arm. "Status?" "Civilian recovered." "Bite victim," he said. The medic paused. "You're bleeding?" "No." "Then what's the issue?" "She bit me." The medic looked at the Vulpine. The Vulpine smiled. Brightly. "Oh no," the medic said. "What?" "You're trending." "What?" Someone shoved a datapad into his face. It was helmet cam footage. Him pulling her free. Her freezing. Her leaning in. The bite. His yelp. Her explanation. "Because I thought you were hot." The clip had been auto-uploaded to the emergency network. It had been shared. Then reshared. Then subtitled. It had 30 million views. "What does trending mean?" she asked. "It means my life is over." Within an hour, the phrase, "human Vulpine," was being translated into 17 languages. Experts were speculating. Analysts were debating. One alien biologist declared humans the most emotionally aggressive species on record. He sat on a bench, helmet in his lap, staring at the datapad. "I didn't do anything," he muttered. "You existed attractively," she said. "That is not a crime." "It might be." Across the bay, a group of insectoid aliens were whispering and pointing at him. One fainted when he looked up. "Why are they afraid?" he asked. She hesitated. "Because if a Vulpine bit you, that means you triggered a courtship reflex." So that reflex only activates in the presence of high-status predators. He looked at her. "I tripped on a cable earlier. Deadly elegance. I cried when my boots pinched. Stoic suffering. I'm not a predator. You rescued me. That's called being decent." She leaned closer. "In my culture, that's terrifying." He buried his face in his hands. Within 2 hours, he was summoned. Not by his superiors. By the Interstellar Cultural Mediation Council. They wanted an explanation. They wanted context. They wanted him to demonstrate. "I am not demonstrating anything," he said, standing in a white chamber with 12 floating holoforms watching him. "We must understand the human mating display," one said. "It wasn't a mating display." "She bit you," another said. "She panicked. She admitted attraction. So have a lot of people. That doesn't mean they use teeth." The Vulpine stood beside him, ears twitching. "For the record, I did not mean to cause an incident. You bit me. I already apologized. You said it like a compliment." "It was," the council murmured. "Do humans commonly provoke instinctive courtship in other species?" one asked. "No." "Do humans often remain calm after being bitten?" I yelled. "You did not attack." I was confused. "Confusion is dominant behavior in some cultures." He stared. "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." The chamber went silent. She smiled. He realized then that everything he said was making it worse. The council dismissed them with a request for further interviews. Outside, reporters hovered. Drones buzzed. One flashed a headline, "Humans, too hot to handle?" "I hate space," he said. "You live in it." "I regret that." She walked beside him, quieter now. "I didn't mean to ruin your life." He glanced at her. "You didn't. I bit you. That part is weird." She folded her hands. "Where I'm from, that means I felt safe." He slowed. "Safe?" "Yes." "Not dominant predator?" "That too. But mostly safe." He didn't know what to do with that. They reached a quiet corridor. For the first time since the station collapse, there were no alarms. She stopped. "I can retract the claim." "Claim?" "I bid you." "It's complicated." He rubbed his face. "Of course it is." She met his eyes. "I didn't expect you to be kind." "Why not?" "Your species profile says you're unpredictable." "That's fair." She hesitated. "I don't want this to be a lie." "What?" "That I bit you because you were hot." He exhaled. "You really need a better word for that." "Maybe I do." They stood there, the galaxy buzzing about them, myths forming, rumors spreading, expectations piling up. All because he pulled someone out of a broken hatch. And she used her teeth. By the next morning, he was officially listed as a cross-species emotional catalyst. He didn't know what that meant, but it sounded like something that came with paperwork and possibly lawsuits. He found out when he woke up to 73 missed calls, 3 diplomatic summons, and a trending tag that translated roughly to #TeethGuy. He lay there, staring at the ceiling of his temporary quarters, wondering at what point in his life he'd made the wrong turn that led him here. He joined the rescue corps because he liked helping people quietly. Emphasis on quietly. He didn't want fame. He didn't want attention. He didn't want to be discussed in academic panels by six-limbed philosophers who were trying to decide if his breathing pattern was sexually suggestive. A chime sounded at his door. He ignored it. Another chime. Then her voice, soft and uncertain. "I brought apology snacks." He opened the door. She stood there holding a small container. Her ears drooped. Her tail flicked nervously. "I don't know what humans eat when they're emotionally damaged," she said. "But I asked?" He sighed and stepped aside. "Come in." She looked relieved, like she'd been holding her breath for 12 hours. The moment she entered, she froze. "Is that a picture of you?" He followed her gaze to the wall. Someone had projected a looping highlight reel of his helmet footage onto the building exterior across the street. He and the entire evacuation bay were visible through the window. "Yes," he said. "That is my humiliation." She tilted her head. "You look heroic." "I look confused." "That's very attractive in some cultures." "Stop." She set the container down. "I made things worse, didn't I?" He opened the container. It was filled with something that looked like tiny, glowing berries. "Are these poisonous?" he asked. "Only emotionally." He popped one into his mouth. It was good. Sweet. Warm. Like a memory. He frowned. "Okay, that's unfair. They're called comfort fruit." "That tracks." She sat on the edge of the couch, hands folded. "My people are very upset with me. Join the club. They say I triggered a bond response in front of millions." He paused. "Millions?" She showed him her pad. The clip had reached 100 million views. Someone had slowed it down. Added dramatic music. Added subtitles. Added hearts. She bit him because she recognized his dominant aura, a commentator said. "Observe his reaction," another said. "He doesn't strike back. This suggests supreme confidence." A third voice chimed in. "Humans do not need to assert. They simply exist." He leaned back, staring. "I tripped on a door frame yesterday." She watched his face carefully. "Do humans not realize how dangerous you are?" "Dangerous?" "You emotionally destabilize us. That feels like a you problem. You are calm during disasters. That's training. You maintain eye contact. That's politeness. You carry others without hesitation. That's being decent." She smiled faintly. "Exactly." A knock at the door interrupted them. Before he could respond, it slid open. 2 floating drones hovered in, projecting holograms of 3 different alien ambassadors. "We apologize for the intrusion," one said. "But your presence is urgently requested." He rubbed his eyes. "Why?" "The galaxy is asking a question," another said. "I didn't realize I was the answer." "Did you intend to initiate a cross-species imprint?" "No." "Did you display confidence?" "I was panicking." "Did you allow her to touch you without retaliation?" "I was in shock." "Shock is considered flirtation by 17 species." He looked at her. "Why didn't you tell me that?" She winced. "I assumed you knew. I barely know my own social rules." They escorted him, not physically, just with an overwhelming sense of importance, to a cultural symposium hall. Inside, dozens of species sat in layered seating. Screens showed his face from various angles. One screen zoomed in on his confused expression from the bite clip. "Is that really me?" he muttered. "Yes," she said. "That's your powerful mating stare. That's me trying to understand why I was being chewed." A moderator floated forward. "Human representative, please explain your behavior." He blinked. "I rescued someone." "Yes." "She bit me." "Yes." "I got confused." "Yes." "And then I panicked about it." Gasps rippled through the chamber. "So you admit emotional vulnerability," the moderator said. "That's not a crime. In many cultures, it is a power move." He glanced at her. Are you all messing with me? She shook her head. No. You're terrifying. He stared at the audience. I cry at movies. The hall erupted. A reptilian delegate fainted. A jelly-like being vibrated intensely. Observe! One shouted. He reveals weakness without fear. That's just being honest. You weaponize honesty. I don't weaponize anything. You don't need to. He turned to her. Why does everyone think I'm some kind of emotional warlord? She hesitated. Because most species only express emotion strategically. Humans don't. Yes. That's why you're dangerous. The moderator raised a limb. We must ask, did you consent to the bite bond? He froze. The what? She shifted uncomfortably. The cultural implication of her bite was a courtship mark. The moderator explained. That's not fair, he said immediately. I didn't know. Did you recoil? Yes. Did you flee? No. Did you reject her verbally? He glanced at her. No, he admitted. Murmurs spread. So you accepted without resistance, the moderator concluded. I was confused. Confusion is ambiguous consent in 9 cultures. He looked like he might actually cry now. I hate space. She stood up. This is my fault. The hall quieted. She straightened, ears lifting. I bit him because I was scared, attracted, and grateful. That is my reflex. He did not ask for it. He did not encourage it. He did not know. All eyes turned to him. And yet, the moderator said, you remained. He swallowed. Because I'm not cruel. Silence. Humans don't run from awkward, he continued. We just stand in it until it becomes a joke or a memory. Something shifted in the room. Humans endure emotional discomfort voluntarily. A delegate whispered. That's horrifying, another said. The moderator studied him. So you are not a predator? No. But you do not withdraw? No. Even when embarrassed? Especially then. The chamber buzzed. You are emotionally persistent. That's one word for it. She looked at him differently now. Not amused. Not flustered. Something softer. After the session they were dismissed, but not dismissed. More like temporarily released into a world that had already made up its mind about them. Outside, reporters hovered. What does it feel like to be universally desirable? One asked him. Confusing. What does it feel like to bite a human? Another asked her. Regrettable and educational. They retreated into a quiet corridor again. I think they like you, she said. I think they're afraid of me. Both can be true. He leaned against the wall. I didn't ask for this. She nodded. I know. There was a pause. Then she asked softly, do you hate me for it? He looked at her. No, he said. I just don't know what I am now. She hesitated, then reached out, stopping just short of touching him. You're still you. That's what scares them. Yes. He laughed quietly. That's stupid. It is. She smiled. And for the first time since the bite, it didn't feel like a disaster. It felt like a beginning. By the 3rd day, he couldn't walk more than 20 steps without someone staring at him like he was a walking emotional weapon. Some species stared with fear. Some with curiosity. Some with what he was pretty sure was flirting, but he refused to emotionally process that. She stayed close to him now, not touching, not biting, just there. Like she was afraid if she wandered too far, the galaxy might decide something on her behalf again. You don't have to follow me everywhere, he said quietly. I know. But you are. Yes. Why? She hesitated. Because when I'm near you, people stop shouting at me. He glanced around. A trio of insectoid reporters were whispering and pointing. When he looked up, they scattered. Oh, he said. That. Yes. That. They stopped at a food stall, one of those interspecies places where nothing looked edible and everything smelled faintly like regret. He ordered something fried. She ordered something that glowed. They sat. Silence stretched between them, thick but not uncomfortable. "You don't look dangerous," she said finally. "I've been saying that. But you feel steady." He frowned. "Steady? You don't change when things get weird." "I panic." "Yes, but you stay." He thought about that. "I guess." She picked at her food. "Most species perform emotions. They show what's useful. What earns status. What protects them. And humans? You leak." He snorted. "Wow. You don't hide when you're embarrassed. You don't turn pain into authority. You don't make attraction a hierarchy." He looked at her. "You really think that's dangerous?" She nodded slowly. "You don't realize how rare that is." He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "I just don't know how to be anything else. That's why they're afraid." He sighed. "I never wanted to be special." "You're not," she said gently. "You're common." He blinked. "That's not comforting." "It is where I'm from," she said. "Common traits are predictable. Predictable things are safe." She paused. "Except you aren't predictable." "Great. You're sincere." "That's worse?" "Yes." He laughed softly. "You're really bad at comforting." She tilted her head. "I am trying." "I know." There was another pause. Then she said, quieter, "Do you think I meant it?" He looked at her. "The bite?" "No." "The reason?" He swallowed. "You said you thought I was hot." "I said that because I panicked." "But—" She hesitated. Then, very carefully, "I didn't lie." Something in his chest tightened. He stared at the table. "That doesn't make this easier." "I didn't want it to." He finally met her eyes. They were softer now. Not flustered. Not teasing. Just honest. "You're not scary," she said. "You're strange. And loud. And emotionally leaky. And you make poor decisions under pressure." "Wow." "But when everything was falling apart," she continued, "you picked me up without asking what I was worth." He didn't know what to say to that. She continued, "My people don't do that." "That sounds miserable." "It is." They sat there, two accidental symbols in a universe that loved labels more than people. "I don't want to be a myth," he said quietly. She nodded. "Neither do I." They were summoned again that evening, this time not to be interrogated, but to be studied. They stood on a platform while a ring of delegates projected questions. "What does human attraction feel like?" one asked. "Messy," he said. "Explain." "It's not a hierarchy. It's not instinctual dominance. It's noticing. Choosing. Being confused." Gasps. "You experience attraction without ritualized structure?" another asked. "Yes." "That's reckless." "That's romance," he muttered. She shifted beside him. "Do you bite those you are attracted to?" a reptilian asked. "No." "Do you restrain yourself?" "Yes." "Voluntarily?" "Yes." The room buzzed. "You possess predatory capability but suppress it?" someone whispered. "I don't want to bite anyone," he said desperately. She covered her mouth, clearly trying not to laugh. They turned to her. "Vulpine engineer, why did you bite him?" She straightened. "Because I panicked. Because he was kind. Because he made me feel like I wasn't about to die. Because I didn't think. And because he was physically appealing?" a delegate pressed. "Yes," she admitted. The room erupted. He stared at her. "You didn't have to say that." "Yes, I did." "Why?" "Because humans hate lies more than embarrassment," she said. He froze. "How do you know that?" "You taught me," she said softly. Something shifted again. Later, they stood in a quiet observation deck, stars sliding by like indifferent witnesses. "I'm sorry I keep making things harder," she said. "You didn't ask to become a cultural incident." I still caused it. He leaned against the railing. I don't blame you. She studied him. You should. He shrugged. It wouldn't help. She laughed quietly. You're infuriating. You bit me. Yes, and I regret nothing. He smirked despite himself. They stood there, watching ships drift. Do you regret me? She asked. He didn't answer right away. I regret the attention, he said. I regret the noise. I regret that everything I do now gets analyzed. And me? He looked at her. No. Her ears lifted slightly. I don't know what this is, he continued. And I don't like being turned into a symbol. But you didn't lie. And you didn't run. And you didn't let them turn me into something fake. She smiled faintly. You're very bad at saying nothing. Humans leak. Yes. That. They were quiet again. Then she asked, almost casually, May I touch you? He blinked. That's a loaded question now. She winced. I know. I hate that. He thought. Then nodded. Yes. She gently rested her fingers on his wrist. Not biting. Just there. You're warm, she said. That's normal. Not where I'm from. He watched her watch him. You're not what they think you are, she said. I know. And you're not what I thought you were, she added. Better or worse? She smiled. More complicated. He laughed. That tracks. They stood there, no cameras, no questions, no titles. Just two people who hadn't asked for this, but were still choosing to stay. And somehow, that felt more dangerous than anything else. By the fourth day, the galaxy had decided two things. 1. Humans were emotionally ungovernable. 2. That made them terrifying. He found this out while standing in front of the largest interspecies assembly chamber he'd ever seen, wearing a borrowed formal jacket that didn't fit right and made him feel like he was impersonating someone important. The jacket was symbolic, apparently. A visual cue of legitimacy. He felt like a fraud. She stood beside him, hands folded, ears upright, tail still. She'd gone very still lately. Not nervous still. Focused still. You don't have to do this, he whispered. Yes, I do. They're going to dissect every word. They already have, she said. This time, we get to speak. The chamber filled with layered projections, hundreds of delegates, floating, hovering, shimmering, twitching. Languages translated in real time. Symbols scrolled along the walls. The moderator appeared. Human representative, it said. You are here to clarify. He exhaled. About the bite. Yes. That's still the weirdest sentence I've ever said out loud. Some of the delegates vibrated. Others glowed. State your understanding of the event. He stepped forward. I pulled someone out of a collapsing station, he said. She panicked. She bit me. I got confused. She said something awkward. I said something awkward. That should have been the end of it. And yet, the moderator said, it was not. Because you all decided it meant something bigger. Murmurs. You believe we misinterpreted? A delegate asked. I know you did. You deny your predatory status? I deny having one. Your emotional resilience is statistically anomalous. That's called growing up. Several beings recoiled. You do not perform dominance rituals, another said. I say please and thank you, which destabilizes hierarchies. Good. Silence spread. She stepped forward then. I initiated the bite, she said. Not as a ritual. Not as a claim. As a reflex. A reflex of attraction, the moderator said. Yes. And you stand by that? She glanced at him. Then nodded. Yes. The chamber stirred. And yet, the moderator continued, you now state it was a mistake. She shook her head. No. It was impulsive. Not false. He blinked. She hadn't said that part out loud before. A ripple went through the chamber. You admit attraction without dominance expectation? Someone asked. Yes. Without status assessment? Yes. Without intent to bind? Yes. That is illogical. Then maybe your logic is incomplete, she said. The room froze. He stared at her. She kept going. My people bite to mark. To claim. To establish rank. That is how we survive. But he didn't want that. He didn't want me to be small so he could be large. He didn't want to own me. She turned to him. He just wanted me alive. The chamber fell silent. He did not posture. She continued. He did not capitalize. He did not reinterpret my mistake into power. She faced the assembly. He let it be awkward. The word translated poorly across several languages. There were multiple approximations. None were flattering. He didn't punish me for misunderstanding him, she said. He didn't rewrite it into something impressive. He stayed human. Something in the chamber shifted. The moderator turned to him. Do you contest her interpretation? He swallowed. No. You did not attempt to define her? No. You did not attempt to claim narrative authority? I just wanted to go back to work. Gasps. You would relinquish a mythic position voluntarily? I didn't ask for it. That itself is dominance behavior. He rubbed his face. I swear to every star in this galaxy, I am not trying to dominate anyone. She smiled faintly. And yet, the moderator said, you do not submit. He looked up. I don't have to choose between those. The room hummed. You exist outside our emotional taxonomies, someone whispered. That's not special, he said. That's normal. To you, the moderator replied. The chamber pulsed with overlapping murmurs. Then what are humans? Someone asked. He hesitated. Then said, messy. More murmurs. Inconsistent. Worse murmurs. Embarrassing. Several beings flickered in distress. But we mean it, he said. When we help. When we apologize. When we care. We don't ritualize it. We don't rank it. We don't weaponize it. That makes you unpredictable, a delegate said. Yeah, he replied. To us, that's called being alive. Silence. He took a breath. I didn't become some emotional apex thing because I didn't bite back. I became a guy who didn't want to make a scared person feel worse. The chamber dimmed. And that, he said, should not be terrifying. She stepped closer to him. But it is, she said softly. The moderator's form pulsed. So what do you propose? It asked. He blinked. Propose? You have destabilized multiple cultural frameworks. I didn't mean to. Intent is irrelevant, it replied. She looked at him. He looked at her. Then he said, stop turning it into a story about power. The chamber paused. Make it a story about people. Confusion rippled. Stop mythologizing mistakes, he continued. Stop turning attraction into hierarchy. Stop assuming kindness is a trap. The moderator hovered closer. And if we do not, then humans will keep breaking your expectations, he said. By accident. A few delegates recoiled. Are you threatening us? No, he said. I'm warning you about yourselves. She let out a small laugh. He glanced at her. What? You're doing it again. Doing what? Being emotionally disruptive. He sighed. I hate that title. After the hearing, the official decision came quickly. They declared humans a class theta emotional variable, which meant legally unpredictable, culturally unclassifiable, not to be ritualized. It was the closest thing to being left alone. They were released. No guards. No drones. No crowds. Just a long, quiet corridor with windows overlooking open space. They stood there for a while. You didn't have to say any of that, she said. I did, he replied. Why? Because if they were going to turn me into something, I wanted it to be honest. She watched him. You could have leaned into it, she said. Taken the myth. Gained status. Power. He snorted. I can't even commit to a haircut. She smiled. Are you disappointed? He asked. In what? That I'm not what they think. She shook her head. I'm relieved, she said. You're worse. He laughed. Rude. More complicated, she corrected. Harder to reduce. They leaned against the railing, watching distant ships drift. The galaxy was already rewriting what had happened. Articles reframed it. Experts softened their stances. Some species started teaching about human emotional nonlinearity. None of that mattered here. I don't regret the bite, she said quietly. He glanced at her. Before you panic, she added, I regret the consequences. Fair. But I don't regret noticing you. He swallowed. I don't regret pulling you out, he said. That was never in question. They stood there. No labels. No cameras. Just two people who had been turned into a story and were now trying to become real again. May I say something dangerous? She asked. He smirked. That seems to be your specialty. I like you, she said. Not as a symbol. Not as a cultural anomaly. As you? He felt heat creep up his neck. That's inconvenient. Yes. And poorly timed. Yes. And deeply awkward. Very. He exhaled. Yeah, he said. I know. She smiled slowly. So, she said, no biting. Definitely no biting. Yet. He choked. She laughed. See? She said. Humans leak. He shook his head, smiling despite himself. And for the first time since the alarms, the footage, the councils, the labels, it didn't feel like a scandal. It felt like a story they were finally allowed to tell themselves.